The problem is that it's always been that price. I always felt like it was always English companies that were coming in and getting the work because they were always told that people in Northern Ireland couldn't do it. Or why should you have to go away to work away from your family to earn decent money? You're still doing the same job. No job should be beneath you that you don't want to do. If you're in the company, then everyone's trying to get to the same end goal. If we all pull together, then we'll create something that's pretty decent. With our trade, there is a lot of people that do come behind and try and alter and adapt things that they shouldn't. And for us to help cut that out a little bit, you could go back in 2 days' time and something could be moved. Or you get a report to say something's been moved or it's not been finished right, and we can say, no, it has been finished right because there's the evidence there that we have used,
What about it? In today's video, we're going to talk about how to scale your business to £5 million plus turnover. I've got Robert from Advanced NI Scaffolding, and he's going to talk about the highs and lows and the challenges that he's had to overcome to grow his business to that size. We're also going to focus on what he's planning to do for trainees to bring people into the industry. Now, before we get into that, let me tell you about the sponsor. This channel is sponsored by Jobber. Jobber is software that I use within my own business. Gets me paid faster, my customers like it. But best of all, it frees up time within my business. If you're a busy business owner and you don't have any time, then I suggest that you have a look at Jobber. Now, there's a free trial if you want to try it out. There's so many things within your business that can be automated, and that's where Jobber comes in. There's an exclusive link down in the video description.
To get your exclusive Premier Lawns discount, it's premierlawns.link/jobber. Robert, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Robert Andrews from Advanced NI Scaffolding. I'm a director and owner of the company. We've started a business in 2012 and still ongoing now as we speak, hopefully for another 12, 13 years after this. We've grew from a small team of probably 6 up to roughly 76, 78 guys now at the minute. And hopefully we can continue to grow, especially over the next sort of 5 to 6 years with a lot of things in place that we're looking to do now to try and keep the steady progression going as we are. I say we're probably I think we're the best scaffold company in Northern Ireland. Others might dispute that, but I think for what we do, the way we take safety as a massive part of the company.
But just to interrupt, is safety the biggest part?
Yeah. It has to be. It was always the focus from day one. It was not necessarily being the biggest. You didn't really necessarily want to be the biggest, just want to be the best at what we've done. And I say, like, things that we've done and processes we brought in, like there's companies in England aren't even doing some of the stuff that we're doing.
Do you want to talk about some of what those processes are?
Yeah, but for starters, when we first started, we had everything was all done, like you're saying about the job. Obviously, the sponsor for the podcast, we've an app called Footprint. It basically digitalizes everything that we do, from handovers, inspections, toolbox talks, weekly inspections, harness certificates. It covers a range of everything. It's great because it's on a handheld device, so the lads never lose the phone. They might crack a screen now and again, but it was hard, I'm sure, to the garden and trade that. Like when the lads are going out with day works books, they get soggy, you lose pages and stuff like that, and then the clients don't get what they want. So for us, it was...
I take it everything's tracked within the app as well then?
Yeah, it's all geotagged. So it's good for if we have a job and we hand the job over, we can take photographs of the job so you know what way it's been left. Because obviously with our trade, there is a lot of people that do come behind and try and alter and adapt things that they shouldn't. It should only be a trained scaffolder that does that. And for us to help cut that out a little bit, we've obviously gone digitalized, so we take photographs of it, get a handover certificate signed, send it to the client and then accept it. And then you could go back in 2 days' time and something could be moved. Or you get a report to say something's been moved or it's not been finished right, and we can say, no, it has been finished right because there's the evidence there that we have used, for the handover sheet. So it's been good in that way. There's been a couple of instances where there has been issues, and then you've gone through your paperwork and you've found out then that this actually wasn't our issue. It was down to the main client or down to a other moving.
And
materials.
What sort of cost would it be, a system like that?
The setup cost us about $2,500 for setup cost. Now that was for like a basic sort of package. We've been very good at our health and safety advisors helped develop the whole thing right the way through. Before we actually got Footprint in, I did try and do something with Apple Forms or iForms, I think it was. And I used a guy, but it was very clunky and it would
be hard to make it seamless across the entire team.
Yeah, it wasn't even that. It was like you were putting onto your phone and the phones are crashing because the file was too big, and then you were losing data and stuff, and then that's not good either, because if you don't have the data there that you've just produced, then you're double jobbing. But Footprint's a great thing for us. It works really well. Kieran Boyd, I'm sure he'll not mind me mentioning his name. He's grown a really good business. Again, Belfast based as well. So we like to support local companies if we can.
So Footprint's here in Northern Ireland. Is that
Footprint's in Northern Ireland, yeah. When I say local companies, obviously I'm not a local. I'm a blow-in, as people have called me. But
I'm the same.
But I'm from Birkenhead originally, so obviously very close to Belfast anyway.
What brought you to Northern Ireland?
My wife. I met my wife in Tenerife in 2000, and then she moved to Liverpool for about 6 months, and then wanted to come home, missed home a bit, so we said we'll give it a go over here, and we moved here. And we've got 2 lovely kids now, twin girls, Grace and Abby, 16, just getting ready for GCSEs.
Very good.
Can you talk us through Advents NI today, like team sizes, projects, and the types of clients you have?
Team sizes, I'd say, is about 76, 78 guys, and then we also have external sort of subbies as well that we'd use. So if you counted all them, you're probably up to over 100 sort of guys, and every sort of week. It does fluctuate up and down depending on what contracts you've got on and stuff. Say we've got work in Northern Ireland, we sort of work in the UK, mainland UK, and we've got bits and pieces in Europe as well. I've been lucky enough to do stuff over there too. So it's a challenge day to day because you never know what you're going to get on a day to day. Things always change. So whether you've somebody sick or a relative's not well or someone's not turning in, and it's a juggling session for the guys. Like we've got 2 contracts managers, we've got a health and safety advisor, a QS and a yard manager, and then obviously then all the guys then all filter in below, supervisors and then operatives down below. But you can send a team of 6 guys to a site and maybe 2 of them don't turn up. But then the 2 that don't turn up, maybe one of them drives. So then that means then that you maybe 4 or 5, you've got to try and run around and get picked up and dropped off and stuff like that. So it is a challenging job for the contracts managers. Not so much for me now because I don't really sort of do that, but you still hear the stresses and the hassles that go on. And sometimes, probably most of the time, they probably don't get enough credit for what they do because someone's always complaining at them, whether it be the lads on site or whether it be clients maybe not happy because something's not being done quick enough, or they maybe want something done in unrealistic time frames, which is normally the case.
Managing expectations.
Yeah, it's I suppose same with every job really, but we do manage it the best we possibly can. And they say the process we have in place, like from the phone rings to the end sort of user, it's all repetitive, so you're just following a system all the time.
I'd imagine as well, if you're using a lot of subcontractors, would they tend to be less reliable than normal guys?
No, not necessarily, no, because in our industry, lads like to work. Like, as hard as it is, lads do like to work and they like to do the hours. So we've got some lads that are banging out 100 hours a week. You know what I mean? Like so it can go up to like 120, but that's what they get paid. But they might work maybe 70 or 75 hours out of that and get paid for 100 or 120, whatever. But it's a hard job.
Would that be like working away and whatnot?
It's like working away, and even at home, we're doing stuff at home. And
what projects have you got on at the minute? What projects?
So in industrial, we do quite a few industrial projects all over Northern Ireland, and it's only really become more recent in the last sort of 3-4 years that we've been getting them types of jobs, because it was always felt like it was always English companies that were coming in and getting the work because they were always told that people in Northern Ireland couldn't do it or never had the capabilities or whatever. But it's a lot of nonsense.
How have you managed to change that perception?
Just knocking doors. Just keep knocking doors and just keep saying, listen, we're here. This is what we can do. And this is the lads we've got on the ground. Why pay, like we said before, we're keeping the money in the country. Why pay somebody else that's travelling away to come and work here when you've got perfectly good lads here to do the job? And the wages have always been terrible. And they're still not, I don't believe, where they should be.
I think that's, for most industries across the board, for a tradesman, I'd say tradesmen in general in Northern Ireland are paid a lot less than their counterparts across the rest of the UK.
Yeah, but I think that's where we've a massive problem, because we're sending everyone's going to England, or everyone's going down south, like down to Dublin or Cork or Limerick or whatever. So yeah, it shouldn't have to be like that. Why should you have to go away to work away from your family to earn decent money? You're still doing the same job. The problem is that it's always been that price. That's what you get. It's always been that price. Like changes in prices.
As a business, how do you overcome that so you can pay your staff more?
I think it's a case of managing your outgoings. we run very lean. Like we've a small team compared to some companies wouldn't even probably have as many men as what we've got maybe, but they'd have a lot more people like in the office and things like that. But it's more people to pay. So if it means that me and like say Carolyn, my wife, obviously she does all the paperwork side of stuff for tax and VAT and whatever else and all that sort of type of stuff, but and incomes and outgoings and that. So we would sit, and there's some nights there we wouldn't finish till stupid o'clock at night, but it's easier. It's not that it's easier to do that. It's cheaper to do that because obviously it's me and Carolyn's doing it. But if we bring somebody else in, then that's money then that we're spending on somebody else that we can maybe use that money to give to the guys actually doing the stuff on the ground. So we're not scared of hard work. So
the other thing is, by the sound of it, you don't have very many layers between the guy that's working down on the shop floor and yourself who's...
No, Carolyn will probably tell you that I'm too accessible because I do. I speak to everybody. I try and I don't get round all the sites all the time. I don't see everybody all the time because it's physically impossible. But if I know someone's got a problem, I would like to think that they would say, I can ring Robbie, he'll listen to me, or he'll see if he can help me in any way.
Would you think then you have an open door policy as opposed to...
Yeah, I think you have to. I think that's what sets us apart from everywhere else. You can go somewhere else and maybe get an extra 50p or £1 an hour more. But at the end of the day, you'll maybe just be treated as just another worker. Like if you have an issue, does anybody else want to know? Probably not. We see it all the time. People come and people go. And we've had a few lads that have left, but they've always come back, or they've always asked to come back.
They go somewhere else and they're treated totally different.
And it's nice. It's nice to get that as well, because like
you need to, as an employee, you need to be getting a certain amount of pay.
Yeah,
but a high amount of pay doesn't always make up for being treated like crap.
No, definitely not. I worked in plenty of places where you've done things and then like you would never have got rewarded for it, or you would never have got even like a pat on the back. You know what I mean? It's like,
I remember working for a golf course and they used to say we were paid from the neck down.
I know that, but that's so degrading. Like that's, if you don't want your team to work well or be productive, then that's how you speak to them. Everybody is as important as each other. Younger lads that we've had now coming in more recently that I've now actually left the business. They've come in and said, "Oh, we've not much on for you this week, so we're going to bring you into the yard." I'm not working in the yard. I'm not thick. I'm not stupid. And you're going, hang on a second. Like we've guys working in the yard. And without them guys in the yard, the whole company doesn't operate. Do you know what I mean? So them lads in the yard, yes, they might get things wrong going out on wagons and stuff like that, but if it wasn't for them, then the work wouldn't be getting done on site. Do you know what I mean?
As well, you're keeping them gainfully employed.
Yeah.
Keeping them busy. So,
but no job should be beneath you that you don't want to do it. If you're in the company, then everyone's trying to get to the same end goal. So to me, that if we all pull together and we all go in the same direction, then we'll create something that's pretty decent. Do you know what I mean?
That's a nice company culture to have.
Yeah. It's all right me saying that. Yeah. Like, I hope it comes across like that to the lads, but a few of the lads might tell you different. Like, I do think that we do things different, and there is that thing of like, if it wasn't for them, if it wasn't for all the lads doing what to do, then we wouldn't have a company. And a lot of companies think that it's all because of like, oh, the office are going to get all this work in. Oh, that's great. It's easy winning the work. It's just down to price and down to what you tell them you can deliver. But you can only do that and deliver what you're delivering with the lads on the ground. So
I'm going to ask, as you've grown, how have you maintained your standards? How have you kept the same quality as you've grown? Or do you think it's actually improved as you've grown?
I definitely think it's improved as we've grown. The biggest one was bringing a safety advisor in. Like I was doing that myself. And you were going out and you were doing the work, what you've seen, like as a company owner. And let's be honest, if you're a company owner, sometimes you won't pick up on everything because you've always got that other thing in the background of like, oh, this has to be done this amount of time, or that has to be done. And not that you would ever cut corners, but you would always try and deliver the best possible way. But now it's actually good now because we got the open door sort of policy, if you like. No one's scared to voice an opinion. So our safety advisor come to me and say, I'm not happy with the way you're proposing to do that. I think we should do X, Y, and Z. And you go, okay, explain to me why. And sometimes we'll have a bit of back and forward. Sometimes he'll go, no, maybe I'm seeing it from a different side than you. And he would maybe concede on some things and then I would concede on some things. But ultimately, the goal is the same. We're still trying to be the safest we can possibly be and do the job the best we can possibly do it.
When was your last accident on site?
It was October. Could you call it an accident? Probably not. A guy actually kicked the stillage, like messing about, and he hurt his knee. So then he was off for like 3 or 4 weeks.
You'll not do that. You'll not do that again.
But you can't allow for that. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's accidents all the time. Whether you get a scratch on your finger or a scratch on your face, I've had plenty myself where it's not really been your fault, but you've been involved in one. But people see it as like, oh, it's a massive problem. Like we've gone into clients before, like into pre-start meetings, and they've said, what accidents have you had in the last, what issues you've had? And you'll round them off and they'll go, all right, okay. So you're telling us all that? I was like, yeah, we've remedied them. We've put things in place now so that doesn't happen again, or it can limit the time it happens again. And they go, oh yeah, the last competitor that was in, I've said that they haven't had no accidents. And you're going, that's just a lie. You know, because it's physically impossible to go like,
yeah, especially with
the big team. We've done it once where we've gone throughout the year where there's been no accident at all. So whether it's somebody there's an accident with one of our guys or a third party, whether it be somebody on site or a member of the public, it could be something silly as kicking something or walking into something, but it's still classed as an accident.
Right, somebody not watching where they're going. And
yeah. The worst one is in town. You'll put all the barriers up that you have, and they'll still walk through the barriers to get to where they need to go.
You brought in a safety advisor. At what stage was the business whenever you brought in the safety advisor? We
were only going about, I think it was about 3 years, 3 coming into 4 years maybe, and we were looking for one. And then we got a guy, he's actually from England as well, Paul Dix. So he come over and was like a trial basis. As he come in, he'd only just done his knee bosh. So like it was all fresh to him as well, but he was a scaffolder, which was a massive draw for me, because it's okay having a safety advisor, but if you don't know how it all goes together, it sometimes can be disjointed and doesn't really work. So having somebody who had the background of scaffolding, plus he's ex-military as well, so you knew that he was regimented and everything he does all methodically done, and so it was peace of mind for me knowing that he was going to follow everything through to the end the way he does. And things he's brought in over the last sort of 5-6 years has been great.
And that must be a real good selling point as well for customers whenever you can say that you've got your own.
Yeah, because I think they see then that you're taking safety serious.
I think a lot of things have moved on the last 10, 20 years.
Oh, when I first come here.
Can you tell us any funny stories about past times?
I'll not tell you who I was working for, but I first come here in 2001, and I went to a site and I come back and I said to Karen, my wife, I said, I don't know if I can do this. I said, it's really bad. And she said, like, why? What's up? And I said, come with painters and stuff today. I said, and joiners. And it was just like any random guy got a job as a scaffolder. But to me, it wasn't scaffolding because it was all system, whereas we all use tube and fitting all in England. And I'd never really used system except for one type, which was cup lock before. So I come in and seen, it was called Yellow Jelly, we called it back then, which is quick stage, was what you would know as in Northern Ireland as scaffolding. Most of it was quick stage. The place is saturated with it. So it comes over and working away and you're going, what am I doing here? Like you're going from getting a job at £13 an hour as an advanced scaffolder in England. At the time was decent money. And then you come in, you're getting told you're getting paid £7 or £7.50 an hour. It was a massive difference. And you're in a different country. You don't really know anybody. So you have to try and prove yourself again. So then you just keep doing what you're doing and keep moving through. But lads you're working with, no harnesses, no PPE, no nothing. You're going like, wow, this is crazy. Like, it was like 10 years behind. That's what it felt like.
Northern Ireland generally is about 10 years. Most things it feels behind.
I think it was, but I don't know whether now it's because of like social media and stuff, or whether it's companies from here going to England and working in England and then bringing, like, adopting more processes from over there and then bringing them back home. I don't know. I'm not saying that everything done in mainland GB is better than anywhere else, but to me it was a lot more robust as to what was going on over there.
From an insurance standpoint, their insurance is probably a bit keener or a bit sharper.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I think a lot of places still won't quote for Northern Ireland even. I don't know whether that's because obviously historical stuff or what, I don't know, but I think standards now are starting to catch up. I still think we're a little bit behind in certain things that are done, but I definitely do think we're catching up.
From when you started the business to now, your roles obviously changed, and how has that changed? And is there anything that you prefer from the old days to now?
Ooh, good question. The old days was sitting in a little small front room on my own we started off, believe it or not, with an iPad, which is really bad. Like, especially when you're not used to doing like sort of documentation and stuff like that, and saving it and this, that, and the other. And the real funny thing that it's a thing we watch now on the TV. It's Jess, it's called. It's like a series, but there's a clip in it where it's a guy's going for a job and he says like, "Oh yeah, I can do computers. What can you do? I can do save as," and that's all I knew. And it was like a running joke in our house. Lucky enough, Carolyn was like in a decent enough job, but she's working with computers all the time and stuff like that. So Carolyn was massive in helping me get through what I had to learn, not to do. But as I did make a lot of mess. You just can't get your head around the amount of stuff that you have to do and you have to know. Like, I remember the first time our accountant come in to see us and we were like, what do I have to do? And he come in and he talked for like 20 minutes, half an hour. And then he talked for another 20 minutes, half an hour. And I was like, wow, I'm not going to know all this. I'm never going to be able to do this. We just got thrown into it. And I knew I could always, from an early age, I've always been able to make money. I've always been able to buy stuff and sell stuff. And that's the way we grew up. We grew up with no money. And my old fella died when we were young. And my mum was left to do everything. So you just knew you had the work ethic because she was always out working, doing whatever she had to do. And there was me and my brother, my middle brother at the time. So you're constantly doing stuff. But when you go from that, like the start of it, and then you're in the front box room and you were getting laughed at for being, oh, you're a scaffold company with no scaffold. And like, you're like, oh, we are, yeah, but we're just trying to make a way here. We're just trying to get a little bit better and a little bit better. And we sort of went from being in the front room, going out to site, coming home in the evening, and then you were like, go through all your safety stuff. And then Carolyn was helping you go through all that. And we were sitting up to maybe 1, 2 in the mornings some nights. And you was killing yourself, like, but you didn't see it like that because it was all new and you were wanting to get stuck into it. But now, fast forward, like sort of to today, like I would get up in the morning, luxury now, taking one of the kids to school, dropping the kids off, and then come back to the house and then work with Carolyn for an hour on bits and pieces and then go to the office. The lads will maybe laugh and say that, oh, we don't see him till 9 or 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, but I am actually working in between that, but they don't see that. Like, yeah. But now it's a lot easier now. Like, you're not doing everything yourself. So like having all them people in place is massive. And I think probably maybe still need to add a couple of bits and pieces, like management sort of style, and another office person, I think, maybe to the team, just to help the other lads in the office, because they've got a lot more to do now as well. So from then to now, would I go back? I don't know if I could go back now. I think it'd be
as your younger
so
self,
hard.
If somebody's listening to this now,
yeah,
what would you tell them if somebody's really struggling and they're looking to start and they're where you were 10, 15 years ago? What would you tell them?
I actually had this conversation last week with a guy, a good mate of mine. He started a business over in Manchester, a scaffolding business, but he's 50 odd. And he said to me, I feel like I'm drowning. He said, Robbie, I don't know what I'm doing. He said, I don't know how to get out of it. And I said, listen, that's normal. And I said, that'll keep happening.
I'm glad to hear that because I feel like I'm myself.
No, but it is because like it's, although you've got all these people around you, you're on your own. Like, the thing I would like to go back to, like, if it was anything, is being on the tools with the lads. And I still would do that from time to time. Not that often. Maybe once, twice a year, maybe. I would do that just to help out, or to, if I think the lads need an extra hand, if you're there, you'll jump in and do bits and pieces. But they're probably getting away more now, to be honest, than help them, if anything, like. But
going to go slightly off piste. How's your mindset changed from the early days to now? Have you, like...
As in what? As in
how you have drove the business forward? Did you have anything that sort of really shifted you, got like a light bulb moment that got you out of the office and more, or was that just as the business the business grew, you were able to employ? I think as it grew, you've got a little bit more money, and we would be, I'll say tight, but miserable is probably the word, like, but we wouldn't really like to overstretch ourselves too much. Like, we've done all what we've done with no help from the bank, really, you know what I mean? Everything that's come in, we've reinvested everything and reinvested, and you haven't taken out really any loans.
No, we only the last, like,
really vans. Would it really just be vans you would fund?
Not even because, like, we saved up and then we bought a van, and the vans you were buying at the start, like, even still now, we'll probably still buy some rubbish vans, like, but you just buy what you can afford, and then you try and improve on that year on year if you can.
I'd imagine your game would be quite tough on a van or a lorry, the scaffolding.
If you buy a pickup truck and a van, we went out and bought a pickup truck and 3 vans one year. We were lucky enough that we had it there, and we said, we need to do something, we need to get it. Went out and got it, and after 6 months, if you'd have seen them, Like, honestly, you just have to like switch off, because no matter how many times you say, oh, you need to do this and do that and do the other, you'd be constantly shouting, you'd be constantly in your own head. You'd explode, your head would explode because of the mess that they're left in.
I suppose PCP wouldn't work in your trade because of the abuse the vans would get.
No, definitely not. And see, to be honest, it's a van for the scaffolder it's your van. It's some sites you go to, they end up being your canteens. Some of the lads are just go and sit in the van rather than sit in the canteen. You drive maybe an hour to work and an hour home in the evening, so you've 2 hours there in the van, then you've maybe another hour then and breaks in your van, so you're in them quite a bit. And I suppose the last thing the lads want to really be doing is tidying the vans at the end of the day. But as much as you'd want that to happen, would I have done that when I was doing it? Probably not. Do you know what I mean? But it's nice to try and get the lads to try and get the vans washed at least once a week. You know what I mean? To try and keep it fresh and keep it looking decent, keep the image right. Because I think if your yard's tidy, your office is tidy, your vans look tidy, then that portrays out onto the site then. So it all does fall into a regime then, if you like.
In terms of branding then, how important has branding been since your early days to where you are now?
Oh, massive. Massive. The things we done to start, I just kept driving home, like we needed Instagram post. Oh, not Instagram post, sorry, LinkedIn post. Need to put a post on LinkedIn. And we hammered LinkedIn. Like the guys in the place said, post on for LinkedIn. And it was coming to a point where people were saying, oh, the lads, thanks to the lads. Because you were always saying, oh, thanks. You don't realise, you just go like repetitive all the time. But because people are then talking about it, it's good publicity. And then we were lucky enough that we had a couple of boxes that we knew, local boxes, was needing a bit of help with different bits and pieces. So we done stuff with the local boxes, then got really big and done.
Explain
really
what the local
well.
boxes are.
So there was Conrad Cummings, Stevie Ward, Stephen Donnelly. We've done stuff with Stephen Donnelly as well. And there was a couple of young kids that, don't know if I'm allowed to mention the names, like, but a couple of young kids that were going like the Olympics and stuff like that we'd done bits and pieces with them. But your logo was everywhere. But sometimes it wasn't even about giving them money. It was just about giving them time and trying to help them source sponsorship. So sometimes we weren't given nothing, but we were helping them get sponsorship. And then not knowing to us, they were going, oh, send us your logo. And you're like, okay, so you send the logo. Next thing, like, they'd be in the ring and they'd have your logo on the shorts. And then we were lucky in the sense that we'd done stuff with Conrad and with Stevie Ward. And
you must be a big boxing fan then.
Oh, I love the boxing. My wife loves the boxing. The whole family love the boxing, so it's good that way. But Carl Frampton done like a documentary on, or they done documentary on Carl Frampton, I think, for something. And Carl Frampton had like a shirt on, and it had our logo on. And like lads in England were texting me going, "Yeah, Carl Frampton's got a shirt with your logo on it." And then from all that, we become quite friendly with sort of Carl over the last load of years. It definitely helped raise the profile, and I think the more you can get out. And even like kids teams and like some of the lads in work will come to you and say, "Oh, rugby team needs a sponsor. Would we be able to do it?" And you go, "Yeah, it's fine." And then when you actually add it up over the year, what you've actually done for like it's more so now really, like because you are able to give back. Like my granddad always done that. Like he used to take underprivileged kids away every year. He's taking the Alaman from Birkenhead and he'd do a load of fundraising and stuff like that on his own. And you seen the enjoyment he got out of it and he loved it. And there's only like a small team of them that would have done that and took maybe 20 kids, 25, 30 kids away.
That's brilliant.
And it's always been something then that's been within me that you've always gone, do you know what? If you can do something, then try and give back. So if we posted about every time that we'd done something, like you would never be done posting. Do you know what I mean? Like the only one that really knows like what gets done is probably me and Carolyn. Some of the lads would know if it's their charity or it's something that they're doing. Got one of the lads is actually doing a white collar boxing event. He's supposed to do it at Christmas, and then he got pulled off the bill. I don't think there was anybody ready to fight him or something, or there was nobody in the right weight catchment or whatever. But all the lads all got behind him, and then we'll sponsor him for going doing that. And then he's doing for Lighthouse for the suicide awareness.
It's a great charity.
It is. Yeah. You know what? And especially in construction as well. It's the worst killer in construction, like, and I don't think it's enough publicity about what it is and the stresses that everyone's under. Because no matter what company you work for, they'll all have these policies in place. But do they really adhere to them? I would say not.
Before we get too much into mental health and stuff, you touched on LinkedIn. Has that been your best? Is that your best source for business.
That's the best for promotion, for even seeing what other people are doing as well. Like, there's companies there that we were for, like massive companies in the UK that you'd love to be 2% of, like for what they do, like GKR, MR, Scaffolding, like big companies in the UK and doing some cracking stuff. And you look at it and you go, wow, them jobs are amazing. You're like, centre of London, maybe 100 metres in the air, 200 metres in the air, some of them. You go, this is different level.
And do you employ someone to do the LinkedIn for you, or do you do that yourself?
I've done it myself, and then we asked the contracts managers to post as well. We laid off it a bit for the last probably couple of years, just because we were just so busy. And it was just like, don't really want to post stuff all the time because you are so busy. But then people then start like not forgetting about you because they see you about, like, but because you're not posting, they think, oh, is there something going wrong? And then why are they not posting as much? And why are they not doing this and why not doing that? But it's just down to time. And I think a lot of companies now do have media people working for them. I don't know where they're for a full-time media sort of person, but I think there's probably an element of it. You could maybe say, right, yeah, you can maybe get somebody in 1-2 days a week to do something maybe. But I would like to do like a graduate, and like a sort of a kid coming through, like from left school, or maybe somebody who's not maybe done so well in school, which we spoke before about in different things with councils and stuff. And that's a whole other rant. Yeah. That's a whole other rant.
We're going to talk about that soon. As you've scaled your business up to £5 million plus, what's the one thing you'd say that has really just turbocharged it in the last 5 to 10 years? Is there? I think
that's probably the one of the easiest questions that I've had today. It has to be Layer, using Layer. Layer is a system made in Germany. So robust. The testing regime is phenomenal.
What's Layer? Talk us through what that is.
So it's basically a system scaffold, as you would see Quick Stage and Cup Lock and various other types around the place. Layer is, to me, in my opinion, is the strongest, safest, fastest, the best material out there. The testing regime of it is phenomenal. Got massive plants in Germany.
Does that just mean you can put it up really quick, really safe?
You can put it up quick. It's safe. There's a lot less limitations with it. You see all your grandstands and stuff with all your seating arrangements on, stages for concerts, TV cameras, stations, construction. You can use it for absolutely everything. And everything's so interchangeable. Yes, there's a lot of parts to it, but if you have all the right parts, the jobs look amazing. Like, I still get excited now going and looking at a job and going, right, wow, that looks, the balls, you're going, everything's in that. It is the way it should be. All straight lines, everything's done. And the lads get a sense of pride of it as well. The lads now working with Layer don't want to go and work with anything else because of the way it is. And we used it on one job. There's a job in River House in the town. I don't know if you know it, do you?
No.
River House, I think it's Bridge Street it's on.
You've done some pretty big projects. Do you want to give us a wee rundown of some of the stuff you've done? Because I know you've done some really interesting buildings around Belfast and whatnot.
Iconic buildings. Like, we've done stuff at the Europa, done stuff at the Opera House, Fitzwilliam Hotel. There's a place next to Robinson's, Great Victoria Street it was called, but it was the building next door to Robinson's, got all the brickwork taken down and redone.
And was it the other side?
It was like between the Crown and Robinson, right, and then up just the middle of that. I think it was the old CSA building, I think. We've done stuff in the City Hall, all Royal Avenue, all stuff in Royal Avenue, Victoria Square, done stuff in the SSE.
And what about further afield?
Further afield, yeah. We've done stuff in British embassies across Europe, in Paris.
It's been a nice contract to get.
It was, yeah. It was interesting because you go over and you don't know what to expect, and then you get. I always laugh because you go, right, like this lad from Birkenhead has just turned up with a suitcase outside the embassy, and everyone's standing with guns and they're shouting at you like, get over the other side of the road, and you're like, no, we're supposed to be going in there. And it's like, and then you show your ID and you go in and do what you need to do. And it's like, but it's like, you go in and you get the history of the place. Like, I was never one for history, but I don't know whether it's moving here, and then you hear so many different things and stuff, and you do take an interest in it. And like, but it's definitely good to get around. Done stuff in Brussels as well. Stuff in Brussels. We've got stuff coming up in Germany, Denmark. There's bits and pieces all over.
Would you send your own guys out to those?
Yeah.
Or is it subcontractors?
Always send your own lads. Yeah. Always send your own lads. Yeah.
Because I suppose you get a lot of hands going up saying, "Take me."
Everyone wants to go. So it helps when you're giving them a credit card and they say, just get your food and get your drink and whatever you need off that thing. So it definitely does help, and not spend their own money.
How do you price yourself competitive without undercutting the value of your business?
That's a hard one because you're always competing with people, and people will always do the job cheaper than you'll do it. You just have to. It's trying to stick to that.
I'd imagine
what you can add value to what you're doing, and sometimes it's really hard when you go, we've priced it for this and we've allowed for this. You've allowed for everything, and then somebody else has maybe priced against you, but they've only allowed for maybe 70% of what you've allowed for, but it doesn't come across in the same way to the QS who's looking at it. We had a job recently that we priced a job and he said, oh, you're 100 grand here, and everybody else was like, no, we couldn't be. And then when you actually spoke and the job was given out, and then we spoke about it afterwards, you're like, oh, we worked it out. So the way we'd sent our document in, we'd put one element where we'd said, this is going to be the cost if it's fully erected all of the time, but it'll be charged out pro rata. They missed that section of things to say that it'll be charged pro rata for the job, which then meant that we didn't get the job, which was a bit of a kick in the teeth because you just go, no, there's no way that we were that expensive. But you always get inflated figures thrown back at you to say, oh, you're more expensive than this and more expensive than that. And sometimes you can maneuver things around a little bit to try and, but there's never 100 grand in a job. Do you know what I mean? It's
that's
like,
a lot.
It's just not possible.
Do you think in your game every job they'll always go for the cheapest quote, or do you think?
No, I think probably 5-6 years ago, yes, 100%. I think now with safety records and stuff and sort of accreditations, like we become the first members of the NASC. We were the first members of the Scaffold Association originally because we couldn't get into the NASC to start off to meet the criteria. But then as the time went on, we then were able to get into the NASC, which is National Access Scaffolding Confederation. It basically writes all the rules and regulations for scaffolding. So we're now in that. Our first year was we got into it in 2023. And in our first year, we put a project in for Small Project of the Year for the Royal Hospital in Belfast, a job around the heli deck. It was shortlisted for Small Project of the Year, which is massive for us. Out of all them companies that are in, I see us as a small company from Northern Ireland has managed to break into that to say, you know what, we're here. Like, we're only in, but we're flying the flag for Northern Ireland here. So it's nice to get a bit of recognition that way.
You're saying about the contracts, could you use the system that you use, the scaffolding system you use, can you use that as a selling point to other businesses?
We have done, because there's some jobs that you go to and you see a different system on one building, and then you'll see our system on the next building. And all the time, I would say 100% of the time, probably 99% of the time, people that go, yeah, we want to use that instead of using that because of the way it looks, because image is everything now, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like there's so many photographs being taken all over the world, and there's so many things happening everywhere, video clips and what have you. So if you have a job up and it looks terrible, you will get someone else like, look at the state of this, and it's bad publicity straight away. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you're putting nice, tidy jobs up and people do see it, people do recognise it, and we'll post it. Like we done one for Great Victoria Street, put a job up, took photographs of it for Leia, and that ended up in like Colombia and
Brilliant.
Places like that. They actually shared the photograph, like Colombia, South Africa, New Zealand, all shared an image of a company from Northern Ireland, and it's mind blowing. Like some of the sort of innovative things that they bring out, that Leia have brought out, we've been the first to use them in Northern Ireland, and we're such a small sort of fish in a big pond, if you like, and which is nice too. There's nobody in Northern Ireland uses it. They all use copies, but it's not the same as Leia. They'll tell you it's the same as Leia, but it's not.
Price, I imagine the price is a lot different as well.
It's probably a fifth of the price, maybe, of what we're paying. But we still try and keep the rates competitive because we've bought like steadily over a certain amount of time. We were the first to make the move out of everybody. To be a scaffold company, go from no scaffold to like the best system on the market, to me is massive. That's what we wanted to do. We want to be the best, want the best material and stuff like that. Everybody else that comes to work with you, they'll work with other systems the same sort of style as what we've got, but they'll all tell you it's not the same as what Leia is. Leia is
just
phenomenal.
Just well thought out, yeah.
It's just everything about it is just phenomenal.
Having a lot of staff, I'd imagine that's your most challenging thing in the business. What are you currently trying to do about that?
Trying to keep lads that you've got and trying to keep improving what they're doing, like upskilling, if you like always putting them on training courses and stuff like that. You can't train everybody all the time, so you have to do it in stages. Some people get annoyed because they haven't been on one, and someone else got in before them and they think they should get it first. So it's managing the expectations there. But for new people coming in, it's tough. It's really hard because, let's be honest, like, it's not a job that everyone wants to go into, scaffolding, is it really? It's hard, physical.
Yeah, you have to be a certain type of person who wants to...
You have to have a mentality that you don't mind working outside, you don't mind being cold, you don't mind heavy lifting, you'd enjoy that type of stuff. But we're finding it increasingly difficult because every kid that would come to you and would say, "You're doing an apprenticeship scheme," you go, "No, we don't have one." And they say, we don't have one for scaffolding in Northern Ireland. But they've got them in England, yeah, but they don't have one in Northern Ireland for them. We were at CITB last week, and they were going on about apprenticeship week coming up and levy training and all the rest of it. Barry Nielsen from CITB, head of CITB in Northern Ireland, gave me a bit of assurance that there will be a change, that there will be courses offered. There was a Graham Wilkinson, I think it was, from somewhere in the council. I can't remember what position he held, but he was in the council and he says, "Oh no, you can get an apprenticeship scheme. We'll not stop any apprenticeship schemes." I was like, "There's not one for scaffolding." And he went, "No, there is." And I was like, "There's not." I said, "Because most of the lads or girls that want to come into scaffolding, you have to have C and above. Kids who are getting C and above, 9 times out of 10 don't want to be doing a manual job. They want to be behind a desk somewhere doing that type of work." In this politically correct world that we live in, that everyone is like, "Oh, you can't call him that, you can't call her that, we have to include everybody," but massively excluding kids who are getting below a C. Like, so D, E, F, if you don't complete any GCSEs, they're not getting a job. So, like, how are we going to fix the problem of getting these kids into work that 90% of them want to work anyway?
And then especially they hit their 20s and all of a sudden they're into the minimum wage. Yeah. And the minimum wage these days is quite high, especially if you're untrained, and then you really become unemployable. Yeah. I was talking to a lad the other day who's wanting to do painting for cars. Yeah. And he's like, "I lost my job as a painter," and he can't get an apprenticeship anywhere else because he's 21 and the minimum wage is that much higher now. Yeah. And nobody can take him on. Nobody wants to take him on because he's not trained. But that lad really wants to work. But what does he do? He's between a rock and a hard place, and employers are between a rock and a hard place as well.
But then that sort of brings in like the mental health sort of side of it. You know what? These lads want to work, but they physically can't find anything. And it's not that employers don't want to employ them. It's just the problem is that, as you say, the minimum wage is so high, and you have to get a return on what they're doing. We've got lads that come into the yard, and you go, "Okay, come in at 16. I want to work, but no one will take me on." You go, "Come into the yard, paint fittings." And we'll pay them to come in and paint fittings. And see, to be honest, it probably costs us money to do that. But that's where I started. A fella gave me a chance at home and says, "Right, come in and paint fittings." So I went in painting fittings and tube. That got me on the road to doing what I'm doing now. I left school with nothing. But then there's all these other lads that work for us. I wouldn't even know what the ratio is, but I would say if you said it's probably 70-30, 70% of the lads maybe left with nothing.
Going to interrupt and say that I left school with no GCSEs. I don't have any qualifications. I do now, but whenever I left school, I didn't have any qualifications. So, yeah, I'd have been
you enjoy your job, don't you? And if you come into something and you enjoy it, you'll excel in it. It doesn't mean that if you don't have a bit of paper, you can't do that job. Some of the lads we have can't read and write. It took one of the lads that we've got, it took him something like 16 goes to pass his touchscreen test. And he was actually told by a different company that he was thick and he was stupid.
But he's probably a really good grafter.
The kid now is going for his level 2, his part 2 in scaffolding. All he's got to do is be assessed, and then we'll put him onto his advanced. All he needed was a bit of help. Bring him in, spend a bit of time with him. You're not thick and you're not stupid. But the first thing that comes in is, "Oh, there's a paper, run a mile." And with CITB, we were up last week. They've said the same thing. They said they'll get kids on the course, come in and do a course. They'll get to the final day and they say, "Oh, there's a written exam at the end of it." And they'll just leave and not do it. Because they're scared of getting it wrong or not being able to read or write. It's so bad. It's like, I've been banging on about it for years now, and we haven't really got anywhere. But
I know you were talking about trying to get some sort of training program in place. Is that something you can talk about?
Yeah, we've made no sort of secret of it, especially with the the powers that be, like CITB and the council and stuff. The council, Newton Abbey and Antrim Borough Council have been brilliant, to be honest. We've told them what we think should happen, like just entice people into the industry. Like there's 60, 70,000 carded scaffolders in the UK, and you're probably going to get maybe 30% of them's going to probably retire in the next 3 to 5 years. So there's going to be a massive void there. Where the scaffolder used to be probably one of the worst paid, it's probably one of the best paid now because of that.
What would a scaffolder expect to earn without doing overtime, or doing overtime and without doing overtime?
You could probably comfortably get 30, 40 grand a year now, I would say. Like, and if you're willing to do the overtime, some guys could come out with a hell of a lot more than that.
That's a good wage, especially for somebody that maybe isn't highly skilled in all our things.
When we have shutdowns on, there'll be some guys there coming home with maybe 16, 1700 £1,700 a week. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not to be laughed at. It's a lot of money. Like.
Good money.
That's obviously that's not if you're able bodied and you're fit and you're looking to change your career, give it a shot.
Fortunately, I'm broken.
No, but I think because we're moving the sort of right sort of people now, like the councils and the CITB and stuff, and they've now finally realised there's a problem. Whereas the problem has been there for the past 5-8 years, maybe more. We've been banging on about this for probably at least 5 years now with different industries. We actually went to Westminster with the NASC just to say about how poor it was and not being supported and stuff like that. I think ours is one of the safest trades you can be in. I know it's risky working at height, but if you do it correctly,
it's not.
Then it's not. You've always got an element, but complacency.
Unless you kick something stupid.
Yeah, but I think my ideal goal is to give a bit back and to try and these kids that are leaving school. To be honest, the kids that leave school that are probably the most challenging and unbehaved, if you like, are the best ones for us to get. I know that sounds strange. You're thinking, why do you want to take a problem on? But you're actually not taking a problem on. They're misbehaved and awkward and hard to work with because they're probably frustrated in the work that they're doing. And we find that lads come in,
I know whenever
and they just take off. Honestly, they do.
I know whenever I was at school, so I had no interest in being there because I found it really frustrating. I was dyslexic with numbers.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't know that was a thing. And I just really struggled in school. And then whenever I got into the workplace, like you say, you totally find yourself. You don't have that hassle of writing things down, and all of a sudden, life's a lot easier. Life's a lot easier.
Because let's be honest, how much stuff did you take from school that you've actually took onto a building site? All right, maths and English and stuff like that, talking and writing down and doing numbers and whatever. That's fair enough. But within our industries, a lot of it is repetitiveness. So you can teach someone. We had a lad in the yard, and I kept him for, I think, 3 months, and I was like, I don't think this is going to work. Lad's got ADHD. I think it is. He's ADHD. And I was like, if I can get 1% out of him, if I can just see one thing that he's doing different, I know he can be taught. And that took 9 months to get to that, right? And it was like a light bulb moment. And for them 9 months I was paying him, I was going, what am I doing? I'm just throwing money away. And I thought, just give it another week, give it another week, give it another week, it might change. All of a sudden, something happened and he come up with an idea for something. And I was like, that's a great idea. And see, from then, the kid now can run the yard. Like he's from 16, he's now just turned 19, I think. He's just turned 19. And he's going like, anywhere else, if he was working anywhere else, he probably would have been let go after about a month to 2 months.
Very rewarding, I would say.
It is, because you know what? It just proves it. See if you stick by people and you can try and help or try and just keep digging it. I know it's costing you money, but it will come good in the end. You just have to follow it through. Everyone doesn't know everything all of the time.
Is there anything else you'd like to touch on with staff and training? Or
yeah, sorry, the 12, I said to the council I'd love to do a 12-week program for kids coming out of school into scaffolding, like in a controlled environment where you bring them into like our yard or a training sort of centre, if you like, and say, this is how scaffolding works, and set something up where they're able to come in, see what happens, how to the gear gets loaded, how you do a material list, how you do this, that, and the other. There's only going to be so much you can do in 12 weeks. But it'll just give them a flavour of like how interesting it can be. You know, take them out to sites, show them the guys working, show them what to do, show them some of the jobs, like interesting jobs. You can be involved in this. Any scaffolder I know is as sad as what I am. When you go away, you go, oh, look, that's like, we go away on holiday and you photographs of scaffolding. and then like Caroline's going like, what are you doing? And then the kids are going, that doesn't look too safe, Dad, does it? Going, no. Like, so everyone picks up on it. Like, it's within the household, like, you know what I mean? So you're just consumed by it. And to me, it's because we enjoy it. We loved it. I love my job. I've always loved my job, but
do you think the kids will follow you into the job? Do you think your kids will? Or do you think they'll go off and do something different?
Honestly, I don't think so. I think they're a lot smarter than I was. Not saying that it's a bad thing. Like, people think scaffolding's just scaffolding. Like, scaffolding's not just scaffolding. You can come in, you can work in the yard, you can like pick materials and send gear out. You don't have to go work at height to do that. You can drive a forklift in the yard. You can load lorries. You can drive a lorry. You can go upstairs where the brains of the operation is, like the QS who like prices all the jobs and sends all your quotations and your invoicing and all out. You can go into health and safety. You can go into scaffold design, where again, there's not really a scaffold designer in Northern Ireland until 2 years ago.
And do you have that?
Yes. Which we set up. We set up with
tell us a bit about that.
We set up with Shane Higgins. We put him through his courses, sent him back to college again. We done that. It took us 3 years to get him through college to do that. So
did you have any contract in place with him that he's going to?
A gentleman's agreement.
Yeah.
To be honest, he's a man of his word, and we took it at that. We didn't do no formalised contract or nothing, but he's come on and he's still learning now. Like, and that's probably 5 years in now, and we've actually just enrolled him on another course now with Ben Beaumont, who's one of the industry's best, like for design, scaffold design, like, and he's now took him under his wing and now mentoring him and teaching him as well. So
would that be for like big projects? Talk us through what you would need that for.
No, it can be something as simple as a small hop up. People think scaffold design is just for massive projects, but it's not. It can be for anything. It just depends what your job is and if it falls within that remit. So there's loads of rules and regulations that if you have a scaffold that height and it's to take pedestrians or people, then it's to be designed. So it could be like a 2-step scaffold over a trench or something. But you have to get it designed, make sure it takes the load of people going over it and all the rest of it. Make sure it's signed off properly, built correctly and all the rest. Then you can have your monster projects like a loft lines down the new building down next to Titanic. That's on the news quite a bit at the minute for blocking the view out. But
is that the one that's they're building no parking? There's an apartment block going up and there's no parking. Is that
no parking? Yeah. But you know what? Like, I think we need to move with the times. Like, every city in the world is probably the same. Do you know what I mean? And Belfast's no different. Like, to me, there's a lot more of a buzz around Belfast now than what there's ever been. Especially some of the areas where they've built all the student accommodation up and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's really Belfast.
It's good. It's good to see.
Really
like, it's changed massively in all the time I've been here. Like since 2001 to now, like it's a massive difference. I'm sure you've seen a lot more of a change, but I think it's for the better. I do, and there's a lot more different sort of types of people here now.
And tell me this here, just to finish off the podcast. You touched earlier on mental health.
Yeah. And
mental health, obviously, it's a massive subject.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how it's impacted your business, and is there anything you put in place to help?
Yeah, we would do the usual like toolbox talks and stuff like that, but I think it's more a case of we've access to a counsellor if the guys need it. And you'd be surprised how many have used it. We would give so many sessions for free, and it definitely helps. We've had some guys that have gone and then they've maybe taken some of their own family to the same counsellor for different reasons. If you're helping just that 1 or 2%, sometimes that's all it needs. It's all it needs to be. But
as well, because that'll travel through.
Oh, definitely.
That'll travel through the time.
I think the biggest thing is just to listen to people, because everyone's got their own stresses and worries. Like, I come in sometimes and I would sort of be talking to one of the lads, and before you know it, you're talking about stuff that you're not happy with and this, that, and the other. But you're offloading, you're dumping, you know what I mean? Like, Carolyn, like my wife, is like my counsellor in the house. I go in the house and she's sick of listening to me, I'm sure.
Sometimes Jason's my counsellor. Should be
like
the other way around. But
it's hard as well, because like for yourself, you're business owner, you're going in, you listen to everyone's problems, and you can only fix so many of them. You can try and you can do all you can, but you can't fix everything. I think that's the hardest part to get. But then once you get out of that sort of cycle and you fix all their issues, then I find that I would go in and then dump everything on Carolyn. And it's always like the wrong time, because you're going in when you should be probably switching off and relaxing. I'm talking to her like we're out with the dogs. Like it could be 7, 8 o'clock at night, and I'm dumping all this stuff onto Carolyn. But then you're not thinking about like the consequences that has on, like even on like the Carolyn, where she'll start then thinking about it, and then it's a whole process then that the both of you are back and forward. And then I need to give a big thanks to her for everything that she puts up with, because without her, like it wouldn't be possible.
Behind every good man, there's a good woman.
Definitely. Like, honestly, and people do say that, and I think sometimes it may be sick as I have to say it, but no, like without her, even to support the kids as well. The kids are phenomenal too. Like, do you understand that you have to take phone calls at night time and weekends, and sometimes you're away on holiday, you're taking calls, or you're answering emails.
I lost the podcast from a beach. I was away. I was away. The wife wasn't too impressed, like, but yeah, I was away, landing on the beach, and the podcast was going live on this channel, on YouTube, Spotify. Don't forget, if you're watching, the smash like button. But yeah, it went live on YouTube, Spotify, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Everywhere at once, yeah. It was a bit mad, so I was lying on the beach looking at my phone, but there's not too many gardeners can say that.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
that they can work on the beach, so.
But
yeah.
it is a hassle. It comes with its own stress.
What do you do how do you unwind?
Go to match. Go and watch Liverpool. And at the minute, it is pretty handy to unwind. You go and watch Liverpool because they're winning quite a bit at the minute. But just getting away, just going to match, or going on like little small trips or little small holidays or days out with the family, it's massive. And like being able to switch off. Best thing about the match is everyone's the same. No one cares what you do. No one cares who you are. You're all there for the same reason. And that's what I enjoy the most. Best thing out of everything.
Listen, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.